Hi, welcome. My name is Rakesh Dhareshwar. Have you ever asked yourself, which camera should I buy? Then this episode is for you. The best camera for you might not be the most expensive one, or with maybe the maximum megapixels. Definitely not the one your favorite influencer uses. Choosing a camera is more about understanding what you want to shoot, why you want to shoot, and how you want to shoot. So let's just decode on how to choose a camera which is best suited for you and your style of shooting. So, how to choose your camera? Now, there are some metrics involved in choosing the best camera for yourself. Let's just see what are those key metrics. The purpose, why you want to buy it, right? The budget, the types of camera which are there so that you can choose the best one for yourself. The sensor size, there are some other metrics which you might want to be very clear about. The ergonomics, video capability if you are into video shooting, and knowledge about cameras, about your photography, about the genre of photography you do, extremely key. So let's take this one by one and understand it so that we always make better choices when it comes to choosing the right camera for the type of shooting we are interested in. Purpose. Now, the key choice one has to make is what do I want to shoot? How do I want to shoot? And why do I want to shoot? Right? So there are so many genres which are involved. Now there's family, portraits, family events, which everybody has. These are all very general stuff. We travel, we have vacations. We do a bit of street photography, landscape photography, and so on and so forth. And these, are some things which everybody does. And then there are some specialized genres like product photography, macro, sports, wildlife, birds, fashion, architecture, so on and so forth. So many genres. And then there are specialized equipment, which is that camera which is built for you and your kind of shooting. If you are very, very clear about one type of purpose, say product, then it's very much easier to narrow it down as to which kind of camera you should choose. But we like to make it complex because there's never one purpose, right? When it comes to photography, we want to also shoot family events, portraits, but I'm also interested in wildlife, probably birds, probably macro, fashion, maybe, architecture. So there is a combination of purposes. And that's where our problem lies. There's so many choices which are there that to choose the best out of all of them to suit your slew of purposes is extremely key. Say it could be, you know, two things which you like, product and fashion, or travel and sports, family and macro, or it could be more than two, street, wildlife, landscape, birds. Now, is there a camera which would work for all, or is the best way is to take a camera and then change the lenses if it is a DSLR or a mirrorless camera? Now, the purposes can overall make these choices much more difficult, and we would think that if we have specialized lenses for each of these genres, then it should work well, but not so. Even the cameras are designed differently. So let's kind of understand, how do camera choices actually make a difference? About the lenses, we'll have another video because it's much more straightforward. First, if we can ensure that we get the camera choices right, then it's much easier to get the lens choice right. Next thing is budget. Now, budget will often limit or expand your choices when it comes to deciding on your final camera. But the one key thing which is there, for us to understand here is intention. Now, are you there for the long haul when it comes to photography? Uh, is it the genre that you're going to stick for a long time? Is it a thing where you might just be stretching the budget a little bit to ensure that it is value for money over a period of time? Because the more expensive or cheaper choice might not be the best choice for you as far as the camera is concerned, or also maybe in terms of the money decision, the most valued one. So how do you choose that? So once you've decided your purpose, the budget, what are the other metrics which you should be very, very clear about? One of the key metric is sensor size. In photography, sensor size affects image quality, noise performance, and the dynamic range of the image. What does that mean? And what exactly is sensor? Now, sensor is the heart of photography as far as digital photography is concerned, because that is where your image is captured. Now, smaller the sensor, smaller is the space in which the image will be formed, and bigger the sensor, bigger is the space where the image will be formed. Now, the size of the image will depend on something called pixels, the number of pixels in that image, the resolution of the sensor itself, or how many pixels are crammed into that sensor. And that is where the image quality is affected. That is where the noise performance is affected, and that is where you get the dynamic range. Now, we know about full frame sensors, right? The 35 film, which was there, is called the full frame size as far as either a film or a sensor is concerned. And if you use a 600 lens on it, it behaves like a 600 So the crop is 1 or 1x. And the size of this sensor is 35 by 24 It's a 3:2 ratio. Then there are crop body sensors, which are smaller. Now, since they are smaller, if you use a 600 on a APS-C sensor, it will act like a 900 So the crop factor is 1.5. So the focal length is marked as being on a full frame. So when I'm using APS-C, it becomes 1.5 times what I would have got using the same lens on a full frame sensor. If I would have used a micro four third, then I would have got double. So for 600 would have acted like a 1200 So I got more focal length, right? And similarly, a 1 inch sensor will be 2.7x, and a 1 by 2.55 of an inch, which is normally the kind of sensor we use in mobile phones, will give you almost 5.62. Are there sensors which exist bigger than full frame? Yes, the medium format, which is 53 by 40 and they are used in specialized purposes. There's also something called the large format. Now, if you look at image quality, noise performance, and dynamic range, as the sensor size increases, all of these increase as well. So it's better to have a bigger sensor, right? But what goes down is the effective focal length. So smaller the size of the sensor, higher the focal length, bigger the size of the sensor, less the focal length. 100 I use, on a full frame sensor, and if I have a medium format body, it would be like 64 right? So, and if I use the same 100 on a APS-C, it will be 150 Now, our purpose is to ensure that we find the perfect size of the sensor for our needs, along with a perfect amount of megapixel, and maybe the crop for certain kind of shooting in the perfect budget. Now, pricing will also increase as the size of the sensor increases. So let's come to the next one. After sensor size, we have megapixel. Megapixel is probably the most sold item by not only camera companies but also by phone companies. Now, do we really need high megapixel? But think about it, right? 1 megapixel is 1 million pixels. That is 10 lakh pixels. Say, for example, image is 3000 pixels by 2000 pixels, which means that it is going to be 6 megapixel in size. Now, if I don't upscale it, if I don't edit it or anything, I can print an image which is 10 inches by almost 6.7 inch. Now, similarly, if I have a 20 megapixel camera or an image, that will give me a 18 by 12 inch print without upscaling, without doing anything. Images we share on the social media are around 2000 pixels long on the wider side. Sites will not allow you to upload more than 2 MB, 4 MB files. Instead of using the whole megapixel, you actually resize it to ensure that you can load it on social media. Now, normally those are the two purposes. Either you print or you upload it on social media or the web, right? Very few times we use megapixels or we need megapixels to make some huge sizes. When we print sizes upwards of 30 inches by 40 inches, or maybe 4 feet by 6 feet, or maybe hoardings of 40 feet by 60 feet, but we normally don't do that. So why do we need such high megapixels? One advantage could be the crop factor. It's great when it comes to maybe bird photography, or could be macro at times. So cropping is not a great idea. Cropping should not be one of the key metric to kind of go in for more megapixel. Question you need to ask is, when was the last time you printed an image which was huge? What was the size? 18 by 12? A 20 megapixel would have you know been perfect. You don't need more. Maybe you need 25 megapixel if you want to kind of crop it a bit. So what are the downfall of having more megapixel? The size of your image becomes big. So you need higher computation power. So you'll have to invest in probably a faster computer. The size of your memory cards. You'll have to invest in higher size memory cards, which also have to be faster. So that's another investment. The buffer of your camera should be extremely high to kind of support that huge size of image. It means a higher costing camera. So all of these are questions you need to ask yourself. Do I really need that extra megapixel? If you're into fashion photography, maybe yes. Because also the fact that a small shake in such a heavy megapixel camera will look much bigger when seen on the computer. You wouldn't notice on the screen, on the camera screen, but the moment you put it on your computer, you would have realized, oh, there was a shake which got amplified because of the higher megapixel. So it's a double-edged sword. Everything gets magnified. So with higher megapixel, you will get to make a larger print. You'll get you get to crop, but it also introduces noise and the file sizes are bigger. So this is one key thing which you need to think when you are going in for a camera which is higher megapixel, right? Depending on what you want to shoot. Landscape, yes, you need higher megapixels, but it all depends on how you are going to use it. There is another fact that if you have a 10 or 12 megapixel camera, you can always upscale it. I have made images with a 12 megapixel camera up to 6 feet by 4 feet and with almost no loss in quality. Thing, because the bigger size pixels could give as much more data for it to kind of upscale. The other thing, what we need to understand are the types of cameras which are available to shoot the kind of genre you're looking at, right? So there is compact, there's premium compact, bridge, DSLR, mirrorless, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to compact, right, it's less expensive, low weight, small size, easy to use, easy to carry, non-intrusive. And if you're just going to use it for, social media or web or something like that, you can use compact. The downside is smaller sensor, which leads to lower quality of the images. Most of them are auto. You do not have control on how you want to shoot because normally they don't have manual mode, and they have a very low zoom range. And the focal lengths are normally at the lower end. So if you are going to use it for street, family event, probably some vacation images and all of that, compact is a great choice. But if you want to print it and all, I don't think compact is a great choice. Then comes premium compact. Low weight, every advantage which compact has, the premium compact also has. The size of the sensor is around an inch, or you also get full frame premium compact, extremely expensive. But if you want to shed weight and yet get a great image, then that's the way to go. The problems it has is basically the zoom is low. Again, you may or may not have a lot of control shooting, and it's definitely much more expensive than the compact cameras. The next comes bridge. It's a bridge between compact and DSLR. So DSLR, the unique thing is that it has got interchangeable lenses. The compact, premium compact, and bridge come with lenses which are fixed uh, to the body. You cannot change it, right? So bridge cameras are also called prosumer cameras, which lie between compact or premium compact and DSLRs. So it has a lens which is already fused, sometimes gives a huge zoom range, right from 18 or 24 right up to 600, 800, and nowadays even 3000 medium weight, slightly much more heavier as far as compacts are concerned, good for social media sharing, and you want small size printing and all of that is fine. Much less expensive than the DSLR. You can actually have a wide variety of shooting. You can shoot everything from wide angle landscape right up to birds. Now let's come to DSLR and mirrorless. Similar, except that mirrorless is much smaller, uh, a lot of interchangeable lenses, so you have a great choice of different lenses. Gives you high quality of images, uh, great for printing, social media sharing, all of that. The problem is heavier, much heavier, needs separate lenses. A high knowledge is required unless until you want to shoot in auto mode. Otherwise, you need a lot of knowledge, to kind of use it optimally. The files are heavy, so you need more investment in terms of accessories, computing power, storage, and so on and so forth. And mirrorless has got all the advantages of a DSLR, plus weight is much less. The other thing is there is a lot of algorithms which nowadays camera manufacturers use to ensure that your autofocus tracking is amazing, tracking eyes or faces. There are some challenges as far as lenses are concerned, but I think the manufacturers are catching up very quickly. Till then, you can also use the lenses which were designed for DSLRs by using an adapter, and it works perfectly fine, right? So mirrorless, the next big thing as far as cameras are concerned. We will see a lot of evolution of AI as well, I'm sure, into built into these cameras. So if you are looking at the future or investing at the future, then mirrorless is definitely one of the key types of cameras you should invest if you have the money. Now, what are the other metrics? Battery life. And this is for all genres of photography. Unless and until you're shooting in a studio where you can just keep on charging it continuously and then shoot. But otherwise, on its own, you need to ensure that there is enough battery life which lasts at least for a day, right? Frames per second, key for wildlife, action, sports, bird, and in this same genre, buffer size, because with frames per second, I mean, like if it is around 60 frames per second and the buffer size is only 30 frames, when in half a second your buffer will be full and then it will start giving that lag. So you need to ensure that your buffer size, your write speed memory card is extremely high. Otherwise, somewhere or the other, you will get lost. The other thing is autofocus system, AF points, extremely critical when it comes to wildlife, birds, sports, or action. Stabilization, especially if you are into low light photography, if you shoot a lot indoors without light or with natural light, right? Or if you shoot early morning or late evening. The other thing is flip screen, great for using vlogging, macro. One of the most underrated metric as far as choosing camera is concerned is ergonomics. What is ergonomics? So if I have to explain ergonomics in a very, very simple term, is how thing is designed, how is it shaped, what is the kind of weight, the balance, how are the things laid out. So for example, if I buy a chair which is not ergonomically designed, then it starts giving me trouble or aches the more I use it. And similar is the thing with cameras. Because we use it a lot, it has to fit right. One of the key things what you need to kind of look at is how does it feel in your hand. So is it too small, is it too big to kind of even reach. Maybe you have smaller hands, or it could be too small where too many buttons which are coming in between, they're near to each other and there's hardly any space, and maybe your fingers are much bigger than what the camera is designed for. So these are things which are real. There might be a lot of features in the camera, but all of these can be irritations which either can go away once you get to use it a lot, or it can just build up in time. And that you'll come to know only when you go and physically check it. That is the reason a lot of us are actually shooting a particular brand of camera. Suppose if you are into Canon, you know exactly where the buttons are in most of the models of the brand. And similar is the case with Nikon or Sony and all of the different brands. So that is extremely important. The other thing is, how are the buttons laid out? Are they further away? Do they have a lot of customization? How is the user friendliness of the buttons in terms of their layout, in terms of ease of use? It's too small, then you do not know. I mean, like maybe the finish, for example, is it rubberized properly so that you get a right grip? Right, or if it is too shiny and it kind of has a chance or a propensity to kind of fall off. These are real questions. The other thing is, how is the menu designed? Is it very, very simple? Is it very complex? It might be a feature rich camera, but just to get into one of the controls, you need to dig through the menu a lot. Is it intuitive? All of these questions are extremely important. It's not only about having a lot of features, but the ease of using those features is also key, especially in action photography and all of that. You need to make decisions very, very quickly. Maybe landscape, right? Or even portrait, for example, you still have time because you can control the subjects most of the time. There you might have the time to kind of dig into menus to get it corrected. But when it comes to action photography, it's key that the menu is simple. You can reach out to whatever controls you want in maximum 1 or 2 steps. Nowadays, a lot of people are into vlogging. They like to make a lot of videos. So for vlogging or for videos, the key thing is to check the resolution of the output of the video which the camera can give, along with the frame rate. So if it is giving me a HD at 120 fps, also a 4K with maybe 60 fps, and 8K at 30 fps, versus another camera or brand or model which can give me 8K at 60 fps, then do I need that extra, right? Because it will be much smoother video, but it will also be a lot of space which will be needed. So all of that needs to be taken into account. The buffer, for example, the touchscreen LCD, or whether it can be tilted to see it easily, because in videos we do not use the viewfinder. I mean, like, it's a screen. So if it is ergonomically designed for you to view from any angle, it makes your life better. Are there a lot of inputs which are given in terms of audio inputs, USB, HDMI, and so on and so forth, for ease of transfer and all of that stuff? And is there a recording limit? There are times when some of the cameras have recording limits, basically to protect the sensor from overuse. So all of these things will be important things, especially if you're wanting to buy a camera which is also going to be used for video as such. The most critical input is knowledge. However feature rich a camera you buy, it will not make you great images. You are the one. So for that, you will need to have the knowledge to use the camera optimally. Even if we purchase or invest a lot of money in the camera, we hardly invest as much in knowledge or understanding of the subject and the camera we use. Read a lot of books, magazines on the net. Uh, you also get some physical copies and stuff. Learn concepts on YouTube. Speak to friends. Speak to other photographers. Maybe join a workshop to gain more knowledge and such. With that, I to conduct a online workshop, basically designed for beginners for ease of understanding, not a lot of jargons and stuff. Simplify it, ensure that we become much better photographers in a very short period of time. I will leave the link in the description, and then we'll move on to the next one. Is there a cheat code to all of this? if if we can kind of make a PDF where we list out all the genres and the stage at which we are, and also the stage where we want to reach, that we can see a path through which we can move ahead. So this is a small general code which I have, but the best cheat code I can give you is, do reach out to me, comment uh, on this video if you have any doubts, or planning to buy or upgrade your cameras and stuff. I would be more than happy to engage with you and help you in that decision. And as you go ahead, as you move closer to the top end, it's imperative to understand all of these metrics in much more detail, so that you can layer that knowledge and make much better informed choice as you go further. With that, I end this video. Thanks a lot for watching the video. If you're still here, do like and share if you like the content. Comment if you just want to say hi, or if you have any doubts. And if you like this content, do subscribe. Also consider clicking on the bell icon. You'll be notified of any videos which I drop from time to time. So thank you so much. God bless. Have a great time.